There's a strange feeling that shows up on a normal Tuesday night. You finished work, you ordered dinner from an app, the dishwasher is running, the laundry is folding itself in the dryer. By every measure, your evening should feel easy. And yet, you're tired in a way that doesn't quite match what you did. You spent the day choosing a delivery window, choosing a password, choosing which subscription to keep, choosing which notification to ignore. The machines did the heavy work. You did the small work. And the small work, it turns out, adds up to something much bigger than people expected. 100 years ago, doing laundry took a full day. You hauled water, you boiled it, you scrubbed, you wrung, you hung. By Tuesday evening, you were done with Monday's wash. Then came the washing machine, then the dryer, then detergent pods, then apps that order more detergent pods. The promise was simple. Machines would handle the work and people would have free time. That's not exactly what happened. The historian Ruth Schwartz Cowan studied this carefully in her book, More Work for Mother. She found something that surprised a lot of people. Despite a century of new appliances, the time American women spent on housework barely dropped. The tasks changed, the standards rose. New chores appeared where old ones disappeared. The same pattern shows up today, just in a different shape. The American Time Use Survey from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that on an average day, about 80% of people still do household activities. Women still average around 2.5 hours, men a little less. The numbers haven't collapsed the way you'd expect, given how much technology has entered the home. Meanwhile, work follows people home. The McKinsey Global Institute estimated that the average professional spends about 28% of the work week just on email. That's roughly 13 hours. So the dishwasher runs itself, but you're sorting your inbox while it does. The convenience is real. It just didn't free up the hours people thought it would. It rearranged them. And it gave you a new job in the process, which you may not have noticed you accepted. There's a useful term for what's happening. The writer Craig Lambert called it shadow work. He wrote about it in Harvard Magazine and later in a book by the same name. Shadow work is the unpaid labor that businesses and institutions have gradually handed to their customers. It used to be done by employees. Now, it's done by you. You pump your own gas, you scan your own groceries, you print your own boarding pass. You book your own appointments through a portal. You troubleshoot your own internet by chatting with a bot before a human appears. Each of these saved someone a job. Each one quietly added a task to yours. On its own, scanning a bag of apples takes 10 seconds. The problem is that these tasks now exist in almost every part of life. Banking, travel, healthcare, utilities, insurance, food. Each industry handed a piece of its work to the customer. And the customer is the same person every time. There's a second mechanism running underneath this. Psychologists call it decision fatigue. The basic finding, repeated across many studies, is that the quality of your decisions tends to drop as the number of decisions grows. Your brain treats choosing as work, even when the choice is small. A century ago, most people didn't choose a phone plan. They didn't choose an electricity provider. They didn't choose between 14 kinds of toothpaste, 6 streaming services, 4 delivery apps, and 3 different ways to pay for each one. Now, they do. All before lunch. Deloitte's annual digital media survey found that the average U.S. household subscribes to about 4 streaming services and spends close to $70 a month just on those. Other industry surveys put the total number of paid subscriptions per person higher than that, once you count music, cloud storage, fitness apps, news, and software. None of those subscriptions are hard to manage on their own. Together, they create a small, steady job. Renewing, canceling, comparing, forgetting, remembering, logging back in because the password expired. There's also an economic idea worth mentioning. It's called the Jevons paradox. In the 1860s, the economist William Stanley Jevons noticed that more efficient steam engines didn't reduce coal use. They increased it, because cheaper energy made people want more of it. The same pattern shows up with time. When a task becomes easier, we don't always do less of it. We often do more. Email is faster than letters, so we send 100 times more messages. Shopping is faster online, so we buy more often. Booking a trip is faster, so we plan more trips, compare more hotels, and read more reviews before deciding. The tools got faster. The expectations expanded to fill the space. That's the mechanism. Work didn't disappear. It got smaller, quieter, and spread across the day in pieces you don't always notice. The cost isn't dramatic. That's part of why it's hard to see. You don't lose an hour at once. You lose 4 minutes here, 7 there, 12 while you're trying to cancel a free trial that has somehow turned into a yearly plan. Researchers who study decision fatigue have found measurable downstream effects. People make worse choices later in the day. They default to whatever option is easiest. They snap at small things. A systematic review published in Health Psychology Review in 2025 found that even trained professionals, like doctors, show measurable drops in decision quality as the day goes on. If that happens to surgeons, it happens to you too, on a smaller scale, while choosing what to make for dinner. There's a financial cost as well. A 2024 industry analysis of subscription spending found that many Americans underestimate their monthly subscription total by more than half. The convenience of automatic renewal removes a moment of friction. That missing moment is exactly where you would have noticed the charge. And there's a relational cost that's harder to measure. The same BLS time use data shows Americans are spending more time at home and less time socializing in person than they did even 10 years ago. Some of that is technology. Some of it is fatigue. Some of it is that managing a modern life leaves less leftover energy than it used to. The trade-off isn't bad faith from any one company. It's the shape of the system. Self-service is cheaper to run. Subscriptions are more profitable than one-time sales. Defaults are designed to keep you enrolled. Each of these decisions, on its own, is reasonable for the business making it. Stacked together across every part of life, they produce the feeling you had on Tuesday night. Most people who notice this don't want to go back. Nobody actually misses standing in line at the bank or waiting on hold for 40 minutes to change a flight. The convenience is real. The time savings are real. The freedom to do small things from your couch at 10 p.m. in your socks is real. It's just that the bill comes due in a different currency. Not money. Attention. Some of the small adjustments people make are quietly sensible. Batching decisions instead of spreading them across the day. Keeping fewer subscriptions on purpose. Letting some emails go unanswered. Choosing the same lunch on Mondays so that Monday has one less choice in it. None of these are life changes. They're more like small acts of housekeeping for a kind of work that nobody warned you was coming. It also helps to name it. Not every tired feeling at the end of the day is about your job, or your sleep, or your character. Sometimes it's the cumulative weight of 200 tiny tasks that each took 15 seconds and felt like nothing. The dishwasher really did save your grandmother hours. The washing machine really did change her week. Those gains were real, and they were passed down. What also got passed down, without anyone planning it, was a long, quiet list of small jobs that used to belong to someone else. And now, at the end of a long day, they belong to you. Drop a comment with the task on your list that should still belong to someone else. Subscribe if you want more of these.